The plasma blade hummed 3 inches from Captain Marcus Chen's throat as Queen Isabella's personal guard held perfect formation around the ceremonial platform. The Zephyrian assassin's silver eyes burned with desperate fury, her chitinous arm trembling as she pressed the weapon closer to his neck. "One more step and your human dies," she hissed in accented galactic standard, her other arm wrapped around the small Zephyrian child who had somehow slipped past every security protocol to reach the diplomatic ceremony. Marcus remained motionless, his hands visible and empty. 20 feet away, Queen Isabella sat on her portable throne, her face carved from marble as she watched her chief diplomatic aide become a hostage. The marriage ceremony between Dr. James Morrison and the Zephyrian widow Kessa had been proceeding smoothly until the child, no more than 6 in human years, had run onto the platform screaming for her dead father. The assassin had materialized from the crowd of wedding guests like smoke given form. Now she held Marcus, the child, and the entire diplomatic future of 2 species in her four-armed grip. "Release the human child," Queen Isabella said, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade through silk. "She is not part of whatever grievance you carry." "Grievance?" The assassin's laugh was bitter, crystalline music. "Your diplomat murdered my mate. He serves the killer who destroys Zephyrian families." Dr. Morrison stepped forward, his human features pale but determined. "I don't know what you're talking about. I've never—" "Shut your lying mouth." The blade pressed closer to Marcus's throat, drawing a thin line of blood. 3 moon cycles ago, the medical facility on Kepler Station. You refused treatment to my bondmate because he was Zephyrian. He died in the corridor outside your clinic. The child in her lower arms began to whimper, calling for her mama in the chirping Zephyrian language. Kessa, the bride, took a half step toward her daughter, before freezing at the assassin's warning glare. Queen Isabella's fingers tightened on her throne's armrest. The Zephyrian human alliance hung by a thread. One wrong word, one sudden movement, and decades of careful diplomacy would shatter in violence. Marcus was more than her aide. He was her friend, her confidant, the man who had stood beside her through every crisis of her 10-year reign. "Dr. Morrison," the Queen said slowly, "is what she says true?" The silence stretched like a held breath. Morrison's hands shook as he ran them through his graying hair. There was a Zephyrian male, but he wasn't my patient. The emergency medical protocol clearly states that non-citizens must be treated by certified xenobiologists. I couldn't legally... Legal, the assassin spat. You hid behind your human laws while my Thekfer bled out, while my daughter lost her father. Marcus noticed the child's grip on the assassin's arm. Not struggling, but holding. Not a random victim, but family. The pieces clicked into place like a weapon being assembled. "Your daughter," Marcus said quietly, his voice steady despite the blade at his throat. "This is your daughter." The assassin's silver eyes widened slightly. The Queen caught the admission, her mind racing through implications. The child, the widow Kessa, the timing of the attack. Not random terrorism, but family desperation colliding with diplomatic necessity. Queen Isabella rose from her throne with fluid grace, her ceremonial robes catching the chamber's lighting. Every movement was calculated, every gesture speaking of absolute authority held under perfect control. "What is your name?" she asked the assassin. "I am Ziel'thanor, bondmate to the fallen Thekfor, mother to Nasara." The alien woman's voice carried the formal cadences of one reciting death names. "I claim right of blood debt against the human who caused my mate's death." Mama Ziel, the child Nisara, reached toward the assassin with desperate recognition. Kessa's sharp intake of breath cut through the chamber. "Ziel, sister, what are you doing?" "Sister, the final piece." Queen Isabella's expression didn't change, but Marcus saw the calculation in her dark eyes. The bride's sister-in-law, the child's aunt. Family grief, twisted into desperate vengeance, striking at the moment when 2 species tried to bind their futures together. The plasma blade wavered slightly as emotional pain warred with murderous intent. Marcus felt the heat brush his skin as the weapon's focus wavered. In that heartbeat of uncertainty, he saw Queen Isabella's minute nod, not to him, but to someone behind the assassin. The chamber held its breath, 3 species, 2 families, 1 blade, and the future of human-alien relations balanced on the edge of a knife, held by a grieving mother who had already lost everything that mattered. Queen Isabella took 1 step forward. "I invoke royal arbitration," she declared, her voice carrying absolute authority. "All blood debts and grievances will be heard under crown law." The assassin's eyes flicked between the queen and her blade. Marcus felt the weapon's heat waver again. Time stopped. Queen Isabella's declaration of royal arbitration changed everything. The ancient law superseded all diplomatic protocols, placing the assassin under crown protection while her grievance was heard. But it also meant Marcus would remain hostage until judgment was rendered. "You offer me human justice for Zephyrian blood?" Ziel'thanor's voice carried bitter amusement. "Your courts know nothing of our pain." "I offer you truth," the queen replied, moving with deliberate slowness to the center of the ceremonial platform, "and the right to face your mate's killer with honor instead of hiding behind a child and an innocent man." Nisasara whimpered again, stretching her small arms toward Kessa. The child's distrust seemed to affect Ziel'thanor more than any threat. Her lower arms loosened slightly around the girl while maintaining pressure on the plasma blade. Marcus felt the weapon's vibration through his skin. Standard Zephyrian plasma blades needed constant muscle tension to maintain their cutting edge. The longer Ziel'thanor held it steady, the more her arm would fatigue. He could feel the tremor beginning in her grip. Dr. Morrison stepped into the ceremonial circle, his face drawn but resolute. "I'll submit to arbitration, but I want the record to show that I followed medical protocol exactly." Kepler's station had 3 certified xenobiologists on duty that night. "Liars!" Ziel'thanor snarled. "I carried my mate to your facility myself. You turned us away at the door." "That's not how it happened." Morrison's voice gained strength. "A Zephyrian male was brought in with severe thoracic trauma. I immediately called for xenobiological support and began non-invasive monitoring, but he was conscious and refused treatment from anyone but a Zephyrian medic." Queen Isabella raised her hand for silence. "Continue, doctor." "The patient, the caver, insisted that human medicine would poison him. I explained that his injuries were too severe for transport, but he became agitated whenever human staff approached." Ziel'thanor's blade hand shook with fury. "Lies. He was unconscious when I brought him to you." "No." Morrison met her eyes directly. "He was awake and speaking. He told me his name, his ship registration, and his bondmate's name. Ziel'thanor of the Deep Current clan. He was most concerned that you not blame yourself for the accident." The assassin's silver eyes widened. He spoke of me? He made me promise to tell you that the gravity generator malfunction wasn't your fault. That you'd done everything correctly on the engineering check. His last words were about how proud he was to be your mate." The plasma blade's hum faltered as Ziel'thanor's concentration wavered. Marcus felt the heat recede fractionally from his throat. Kessa moved closer, her own eyes bright with unshed tears. "Sister, Thekvor spoke truth to you before he left for that final cargo run. The generators on the old freighters were failing across the fleet. 3 other ships lost crew that same week. But the human turned him away," Ziel'thanor whispered, her voice breaking. "He died outside the clinic. He died making his own choice," Morrison said gently. "After refusing treatment, he collapsed attempting to return to his ship. My team responded immediately, but the internal injuries were beyond our ability to repair. Even with xenobiological support, we couldn't have saved him." Queen Isabella watched the exchange with unwavering attention. Marcus recognized her hunting stillness. She was waiting for the perfect moment to act on whatever plan was forming behind her calculating eyes. "The medical record shows 17 minutes of active treatment," Morrison continued. "Not abandonment, not negligence. A patient's right to refuse care honored to his detriment." 17 minutes. Ziel'thanor's voice was barely audible. 17 minutes of everything we knew how to do, and when it wasn't enough, I held his hand as he died so he wouldn't be alone. The confession hung in the air like a prayer. Marcus felt the blade's heat fade further as shock ran through Ziel'thanor's frame. The report said he was refused treatment." Queen Isabella's eyes sharpened. What report? The official inquiry. From Kepler's Station Command, it stated that Thekvor was denied medical care due to species discrimination. Dr. Morrison paled. I never filed such a report, and I was never contacted by Kepler Station Command for an official inquiry. The Queen's voice carried winter ice. Who gave you this report? Ziel'thanor's grip on both Marcus and the child loosened as confusion replaced fury. Commander Braxton, he said the humans were covering up their crimes against Zephyrian citizens, that only blood justice would answer for blood spilled. Marcus felt pieces clicking together in his mind. Braxton, the hardline human separatist who'd opposed the alliance from the beginning. The man had been mysteriously absent from today's ceremony despite his mandatory invitation. Queen Isabella's expression remained stone, but Marcus caught the flash of lethal understanding in her eyes. Someone had weaponized grief, turning a widow's loss into a diplomatic crisis that would shatter the alliance. Ziel'thanor, the Queen said carefully. Commander Braxton gave you this information directly? He came to our colony ship, said humans like Dr. Morrison were poisoning our people, that the alliance was a trap to make us dependent on human mercy. The assassin's voice carried growing doubt. He said if I could prove human cruelty during the wedding ceremony, the Zephyrian Council would abandon the treaty. The trap revealed itself in its full complexity. Marcus felt admiration for the Queen's patient questioning, drawing out the conspiracy thread by thread instead of attempting to force answers at blade point. Did Commander Braxton know about today's ceremony? Queen Isabella asked. He told me when and where it would be held. Said the media presence would ensure my message reached both species. A setup. A grieving widow manipulated into terrorism to destroy the alliance. Marcus wondered how many other families Braxton had approached with similar lies. The wedding had been turned into an assassination attempt. The Queen's next words would determine whether truth could overcome manufactured hate, and whether the alliance could survive the poison of deliberate deception. Queen Isabella's voice cut through the chamber with absolute clarity. Royal Guard, initiate Protocol 7, locate Commander Braxton immediately. The response was swift and silent. Marcus saw hand signals pass between the guards as they coordinated, without disturbing the delicate standoff. Protocol 7 meant suspected treason. Braxton would be found and detained within minutes. Ziel'thanor's confusion deepened as she processed the implications. You believe me about the commander? I believe you've been used, the Queen replied, taking another careful step forward. The question now is whether you'll continue serving his agenda or choose to learn the truth. The plasma blade's hum grew unstable as the assassin's emotional control cracked. Marcus felt the weapon's heat fluctuating against his skin. Dangerous not from intent now, but from her wavering focus. Dr. Morrison pulled out a small datapad, his movements slow and deliberate. I can show you the actual medical records, Tech 4's complete treatment file, including his stated refusal of care and our attempts to honor his wishes while preserving his life. Don't move, Ziel'thanor snapped, but her voice lacked its earlier conviction. Sister, Kessa said softly, you know Thekvor's honor. He would be ashamed to see you threaten innocence, especially a child who has already lost her mother. At the mention of loss, Nisara looked up at Ziel'thanor with wide silver eyes. Aunt Ziel, why are you sad? Are you sick like Mama was? The simple question nearly shattered the assassin's composure. Her lower arms tightened protectively around the child, while her blade arm trembled with suppressed emotion. Marcus seized the moment of vulnerability. Ziel'thanor, your daughter needs you alive more than she needs you to avenge the dead. Thekvor is beyond pain. She isn't. She's not my daughter, the assassin whispered. Kessa is marrying the human to give Nisara a new family. I'm just the broken aunt who couldn't protect anyone. The raw anguish in her voice revealed the deeper wound. This wasn't just about Thekvor's death. It was about survivor's guilt, family dissolution, and the fear of being replaced by human connections. Queen Isabella recognized the emotional shift and adapted her approach. Tell me about Thekvor. What kind of male was he? Ziel'thanor's grip on the blade loosened slightly. He sang to the engines. Terrible voice, but he said mechanical systems needed music to work properly. He could repair anything that flew, and he never met a problem he couldn't solve with patience and spare parts. He sounds like an engineer, Dr. Morrison offered quietly. They think differently than the rest of us. More methodical. He was brilliant, could calculate jump coordinates in his head faster than most navigation computers. A ghost of a smile crossed Ziel'thanor's features. He always said humans and Zephyrians thought too differently to be enemies, that we needed each other's perspectives to solve the universe's problems. Marcus felt the weapon's heat fade further. What would he think of you holding his daughter hostage to avenge him? The question hit like a physical blow. Ziel'thanor's entire body sagged, the fight draining out of her stance. He'd be horrified, she admitted in a broken whisper. He believed in building bridges, not burning them. Queen Isabella sensed the critical moment arriving. Then honor his memory correctly. Help us build the bridge he would have wanted. But the report, Commander Braxton showed me official documentation. Fabricated, the Queen stated, with absolute certainty. Commander Braxton has opposed this alliance from its inception. It seals. Your grief is a weapon against everything your mate believed in. Ziel'thanor looked down at Nisara, who had dozed against her aunt's chest despite the chaos surrounding them. The child's peaceful trust in her family's protection seemed to anchor the assassin's wavering resolve. If I release you, she said to Marcus, what happens to me? That depends on what you choose next, Queen Isabella replied. Royal arbitration protects you until the truth is established, but your actions here will influence the judgment. And if the truth exonerates Dr. Morrison, then you'll face consequences for threatening lives under false pretenses. But you'll also have the chance to help us stop whoever is manufacturing hatred between our species. Marcus felt the blade withdraw from his throat as Ziel'thanor made her decision. The weapon powered down with a fading whine, but she didn't release him yet. I want to see the medical records, she demanded. All of them. And I want to know why Commander Braxton has falsified reports about my mate's death. Queen Isabella nodded. Dr. Morrison will provide complete medical documentation. My intelligence staff will investigate Commander Braxton's activities. But first, we need to ensure everyone's safety. Ziel'thanor looked around the chamber, at the frozen wedding guests, the ready guards, the diplomatic staff holding their breath. Her gaze settled on Kessa and Dr. Morrison, standing together united by more than ceremony now. The marriage, she said quietly. I've ruined it. No, Kessa replied firmly. You've revealed the poison that threatened to ruin much more than one wedding. James understands your grief, sister. We both. Dr. Morrison nodded. I've lost patience before. The guilt never completely fades, even when you know you did everything possible. Your reaction to that false report is understandable. Ziel'thanor finally released both Marcus and the child. Nisara immediately ran to Kessa, chattering in rapid Zephyrian about her aunt's strange behavior. Marcus stepped clear, rubbing his throat where the blade had left its mark. The Queen approached Ziel'thanor with measured steps. Your mate was an engineer who believed in building bridges. Will you help us complete the one he would have wanted? The assassin, no longer an assassin, looked at the mixed gathering of humans and Zephyrians who had come to celebrate unity. Her decision would either validate Braxton's manipulation or expose his treachery to both species. I'll help you find the truth, she said finally. But I want Commander Braxton to face Zephyrian justice for exploiting the grief of my people. Queen Isabella smiled for the first time since the crisis began. That can be arranged. The marriage ceremony had become something larger, a trial that would either strengthen the alliance or reveal how easily it could be broken by manufactured hate. And at the center of it all, a widow's love for her dead mate would either damn or save the peace between stars. The next phase would determine which path lay ahead. Royal Guard Captain Torres appeared at Queen Isabella's shoulder with the silent precision that made him her most trusted security chief. His expression was carefully neutral, but Marcus caught the slight tension around his eyes that meant complications. Your Majesty, Torres murmured, Commander Braxton is not at his quarters, his office, or any of his known locations. His personal transport departed the station 6 hours ago. 6 hours. Before the ceremony began, before Ziel'thanor made her move, Braxton had fled the moment he set his weapon in motion, leaving others to face the consequences of his manipulation. Queen Isabella's jaw tightened fractionally. Destination? Unknown. His flight plan indicated a routine patrol of the outer system, but he's not responding to communications, and his ship's transponder went dark 40 minutes ago. Ziel'thanor overheard the exchange, her silver eyes flashing with new anger. He ran? Dioli, he fills my heart with poison, sends me to die for his cause, and then runs like a coward? A pattern I've seen before, the Queen replied grimly. Extremists rarely have the courage to face the consequences of their actions personally. Morrison had been quietly accessing his medical files on a secure terminal. He turned the display towards Ziel'thanor, his expression grave but determined. These are Thekvor's complete medical records, everything from his arrival to his death. The assassin approached the terminal with careful steps, as if the data might somehow resurrect her pain. Marcus watched her eyes scan the timestamps, treatment notes, and diagnostic readings. Her breathing became shallow as she absorbed the reality of her mate's final minutes. 17 minutes and 37 seconds of active treatment, she read aloud. Multiple attempts to convince patient to accept full intervention. Patient remained conscious and coherent, repeatedly refusing human medical procedures due to cultural concerns. Her voice broke slightly. He was afraid, wasn't he? Afraid that human medicine would somehow contaminate him. Traditional Zephyrian medical philosophy emphasizes natural healing, Dr. Morrison explained gently. Many of your people view synthetic treatments as spiritually dangerous. I tried to respect his beliefs while preserving his life, but you couldn't do both. No, I couldn't do both. Ziel'thanor continued reading, her expression cycling through grief, anger, and growing understanding. Final notation: patient expired at 23:47 station time. Cause of death: massive internal hemorrhaging due to gravity generator malfunction. Treatment refused by patient on cultural grounds. Next of kin: Ziel'thanor, Deep Current Clan, currently serving aboard merchant vessel Far Wanderer. She looked up from the screen. You knew who I was when I attacked you. Dr. Morrison nodded. I recognized your name when you introduced yourself. I've carried the guilt of Thekvor's death for 3 months, wondering if there was something more I could have done to convince him to accept treatment. And instead of hating me for that guilt, you're willing to face trial for his death? I'm willing to face the truth, Morrison corrected. Whatever that means for my future. Queen Isabella had been monitoring communications on her personal device. Now she stepped forward with new information that would reshape everything they thought they knew about the conspiracy. Ziel'thanor, I need you to answer some questions about Commander Braxton's approach to your people. Captain Torres has discovered something disturbing. Torres activated a holographic display showing a series of documents. We've accessed Braxton's personal files. He didn't just approach your family about Dr. Morrison. He's been systematically contacting recently bereaved Zephyrian families across 5 colonies, providing them with fabricated evidence of human medical discrimination. The scope of the manipulation became clear as Torres continued. At least 12 other families were given falsified reports about their loved ones' deaths in human medical facilities. Braxton was building an army of grieving relatives to strike simultaneously during major diplomatic events. Ziel'thanor staggered as the implications hit her. 12 others? How many were planning attacks like mine? We're still investigating, but preliminary data suggests coordinated strikes were planned for the Trade Summit next month, the Cultural Exchange Program, and the joint military exercises. Today was apparently a beta test. Marcus felt sick. A dozen grieving families, each thinking they were alone in their pain, each being pointed at innocent targets by a man who cared nothing for their loss beyond its usefulness as a weapon. Why? Ziel'thanor's voice was barely audible. Why use our grief this way? Queen Isabella's expression hardened to diamond. Because extremists understand that the strongest weapons are often the purest emotions, twisted to serve impure purposes. Love becomes hate, grief becomes rage, hope becomes desperation. But what did he gain from destroying the Alliance? Power, the Queen replied simply. Braxton represents a faction that believes humans should dominate this sector without alien interference. The Alliance threatens their vision of human supremacy. Dr. Morrison had been studying the holographic documents. Now he looked up with dawning horror. These fabricated medical reports aren't just wrong about my treatment of HFY. They're medically impossible. The procedures described here would kill rather than heal Zephyrian physiology. Meaning Braxton doesn't just want to destroy the Alliance with lies. He wants to ensure that if any Zephyrians seek human medical aid in the future, they'll receive treatments designed to harm them. He's weaponizing medical care itself. The revelation sent a chill through the chamber. The scope of Braxton's plan went beyond political manipulation into deliberate genocide, disguised as medical incompetence. Ziel'thanor looked at her hands as if seeing them for the first time. I was going to kill you for following medical protocols that saved Zephyrian lives, while he planned to corrupt those same protocols to guarantee our deaths. Queen Isabella placed a gentle hand on the alien woman's shoulder. You were a grief-stricken mother who believed she was seeking justice. He was a calculating monster, using your love against everything it should protect. What happens now? And we use the truth to inoculate both our species against this kind of manipulation in the future. Kessa had been listening with growing determination. She stepped forward, still wearing her wedding dress but carrying herself like a warrior. Sister, our people need to know what was done to us. Will you help me warn the other families? Braxton approached. Yes, Ziel'thanor replied without hesitation. But first, I need to ask Dr. Morrison something. She turned to the human doctor, her silver eyes bright with unshed tears. When HFY died, was he in pain? Morrison considered the question with the gravity it deserved. No. The injuries caused rapid blood loss, which means he lost consciousness before the pain could become severe, and I made sure he wasn't alone. Thank you. The words carried the weight of a universe of gratitude. Thank you for being with him when I couldn't. Marcus realized this moment would be remembered by both species, as the point where manufactured hate was overcome by simple human decency and alien honor. The marriage ceremony had become something unprecedented, a trial by fire that proved the Alliance could survive anything. But first, they had to catch a fleeing extremist who had turned grief into a weapon of mass destruction. The hunt for Commander Braxton began immediately, but Queen Isabella understood that capturing one man was less important than preventing his poison from spreading to other grieving families. Within the hour, the chamber had transformed into a crisis command center, with holographic displays showing Zephyrian colonies across 5 systems. Captain Torres coordinated with alien security forces while Dr. Morrison worked with Zephyrian medical specialists to identify which families might have received falsified reports. Kessa and Dr. Morrison had postponed their ceremony, but Marcus noticed they worked side by side with the natural partnership of a couple already united in purpose. Ziel'thanor proved invaluable in the investigation. Her engineering background allowed her to identify technical inconsistencies in Braxton's fabricated documents that human investigators had missed. This medical sensor reading is impossible, she explained, pointing to a holographic data stream. Zephyrian metabolism doesn't produce these compounds under any circumstances. Someone created these reports using human physiological models and simply changed the species designation. Queen Isabella studied the evidence with growing admiration for the alien woman's analytical mind. You've helped us prove systematic fraud, but we need more than evidence. We need to reach the other families before they act on Braxton's lies. Some may have already acted, Torres reported grimly. We've lost contact with 3 families who are scheduled to attend upcoming diplomatic events. Their absence could indicate they're proceeding with planned attacks. The scope of the crisis expanded with each new revelation. Marcus realized they weren't just dealing with one sabotaged wedding, but a coordinated campaign designed to destroy interspecies cooperation across multiple worlds. I can identify the families, Ziel'thanor offered. Braxton showed me documents about others who had suffered human medical discrimination. He wanted me to know I wasn't alone in my grief. A recruitment technique, Queen Isabella observed. Make each victim feel part of a larger community of suffering, while keeping them isolated from actual support systems. Ziel'thanor activated the holographic display, her forearms working with fluid precision to sort through the fabricated reports. Here, The Vorthala family lost their eldest son to what Braxton claimed was human medical negligence. The Kelixmori clan believed their daughter was refused treatment due to species prejudice. The Martesson twins were told their parents died because humans prioritized their own species in emergency situations. Each name represented a family destroyed by lies, their grief weaponized against innocent targets. Marcus found himself both horrified by the scope of Braxton's manipulation and impressed by the systematic precision of his evil. "Can we reach them?" Queen Isabella asked. The Vorthala family is scheduled to attend the trade summit on Kepler Station in 18 days, Torres reported. The Kelixmori clan has passage booked on a transport arriving at the cultural exchange colony tomorrow. The Martesson twins. He paused, checking his data. The Martesson twins are already en route to the joint military exercises at Titan Base. Already en route. Marcus felt his stomach drop as the implications became clear. Military exercises, Queen Isabella repeated slowly. Joint human Zephyrian war games involving live weapons and explosive ordnance. Perfect environment for an accident that could be blamed on interspecies tensions, Torres agreed grimly. Doctor, Morrison looked up from his medical analysis. If they're following the same pattern as Ziel'thanor's attack, they'll strike during a ceremony or public event, when media coverage guarantees maximum political impact. The opening ceremony is scheduled for tomorrow at 14 o'clock station time, Torres reported. Full military honors, representatives from both species defense commands, and comprehensive media coverage. Queen Isabella made her decision with characteristic swiftness. Torres, prepare my personal ship for immediate departure. We're going to Titan Base. Your Majesty, the security risks are outweighed by the political necessity. If another attack succeeds, especially against military personnel, it could trigger actual warfare between our species. Ziel'thanor stepped forward. I'm coming with you. That's not necessary. Yes, it is. The alien woman's voice carried absolute conviction. The Martesson twins knew my mate. They trusted his judgment about human Zephyrian cooperation. They'll listen to me in ways they won't listen to human authority figures. Queen Isabella studied Ziel'thanor's determined expression, weighing risks against potential benefits. You understand that if we're wrong about their intentions, you could be placing yourself in extreme danger? I've been in extreme danger since the moment I believed Braxton's lies. At least now I'm choosing my own risk instead of being manipulated into it. Dr. Morrison cleared his throat. Your Majesty, I'd like to accompany the mission as well. If we can reach them before they act, medical evidence might be more convincing than political arguments. Absolutely not, Kessa interjected firmly. James, you're a civilian. This is military business. This started with medical lies. It should end with medical truth. Marcus watched the Queen process the requests, recognizing her calculating stillness. She was evaluating not just the tactical situation, but the symbolic power of different approaches to preventing the next attack. Very well, she decided. Morrison and Ziel'thanor will accompany the mission, but we leave in 1 hour, and everyone follows my security chief's orders without question. As the team prepared for departure, Marcus found himself studying the strange alliance that had emerged from the day's chaos. A human queen, an alien engineer, a doctor who'd been falsely accused of murder, and a security team united by the need to prevent genocide disguised as grief. It wasn't the diplomatic resolution anyone had planned, but it might be exactly what two species needed to prove their partnership could survive anything. The real test would come when they faced the next family that had been poisoned with lies about human-alien cooperation. Time was running out, and lives hung in the balance. Queen Isabella's personal ship cut through hyperspace toward Titan Base with ruthless efficiency, its military-grade engines pushing the boundaries of safe travel. In the ship's secure briefing room, Marcus watched an unlikely strategy session unfold between species that had nearly gone to war 12 hours earlier. Ziel'thanor had interfaced her personal data system with the ship's computers, displaying everything she could remember about the Martesson twins. Kyle and Vex were close friends with my mate, she explained, her forearms manipulating holographic images with practiced ease. They served together on deep space freight runs before the twins joined military service. What's their psychological profile? Queen Isabella asked. studying service records that Captain Torres had accessed through military channels. Loyal, methodical, and completely devoted to each other, Ziel'thanor replied. Losing their parents broke something fundamental in their worldview. They believed family was sacred, that the Alliance was supposed to protect mixed crews like theirs. Dr. Morrison reviewed medical files on his portable display. Their parents died in a genuine accident. Life support failure during a routine cargo run. But Braxton's fabricated reports claim they were refused emergency treatment at the nearest human facility. Why would they believe that over official accident reports? Because the accident happened near the neutral zone where human and Zephyrian rescue protocols sometimes conflict, Marcus offered. Natural bureaucratic confusion becomes evidence of deliberate discrimination when viewed through grief and rage. Time compressed as they approached their destination. Titan Base sprawled across the moon's surface like a metallic cancer, its defensive arrays and docking facilities designed to accommodate both human and Zephyrian military vessels. The joint exercises represented months of planning, thousands of personnel, and enough firepower to devastate a small planet. Incoming transmission from Base Command, the ship's communications officer reported. Admiral Hassan is requesting immediate conference with Her Majesty. Queen Isabella activated the secure channel, and Admiral Hassan's weathered face appeared on the main display. His expression combined professional courtesy with barely controlled concern. Your Majesty, I wasn't expecting royal inspection of the war games. Admiral, we have credible intelligence of a planned terrorist attack during today's opening ceremony. 2 Zephyrian military personnel may attempt to cause casualties that could be blamed on interspecies tensions. Hassan's expression darkened. The Martessan twins. They arrived 6 hours ago and immediately requested assignment to ceremonial security detail. Marcus felt ice crystallize in his stomach. Perfect position to sabotage equipment, plant explosives, or simply eliminate key personnel during the most visible moment of human Zephyrian cooperation. What's their current assignment? The Queen asked. Honor guard for the flag ceremony. They'll be standing directly behind the podium when both species' anthems are played. 20 feet from every major military leader of both species, armed with ceremonial weapons that could easily be modified for lethal use. Braxton had chosen his proxies with diabolical precision. We need to reach them before the ceremony begins, Ziel'thanor insisted. If they're anything like I was, they're operating on pure emotional pain. Logic won't work until we acknowledge their grief. Queen Isabella checked the mission chronometer. 43 minutes until ceremony commencement. Admiral, can you delay the opening without causing suspicion? Minor technical difficulties could buy us perhaps 15 minutes, Hassan replied reluctantly. Beyond that, the media and diplomatic corps will start asking questions I can't answer. Dr. Morrison had been studying tactical displays of the base layout. Where would they strike for maximum impact? The flag ceremony involves synchronized military demonstrations, Admiral Hassan explained, highlighting specific locations on the base schematic. Live weapons, explosive charges for demonstration purposes, and ceremonial aircraft flying in close formation. Any one of those elements could be turned into a weapon of mass destruction. Torres was coordinating with base security through secondary channels. The twins passed all security screenings and psychological evaluations. Their commanding officers described them as exemplary soldiers with perfect service records. Because they are exemplary soldiers, Ziel'thanor corrected. They're not criminals or terrorists. They're grieving children who believe they're serving justice by stopping humans from killing more Zephyrian families. The distinction mattered tactically. Experienced soldiers would be harder to stop once they committed to action, but they might also be more receptive to evidence that changed their understanding of the mission. Landing in 7 minutes, the pilot announced. Queen Isabella stood, her ceremonial robes replaced by practical diplomatic attire that wouldn't impede movement. Admiral Hassan, I want the twins isolated for private conference immediately upon our arrival. Use whatever pretext necessary. Your Majesty, if you're wrong about their intentions, if I'm wrong, 2 innocent soldiers will be temporarily inconvenienced. If I'm right, we prevent a massacre that could trigger interspecies warfare. The ship's docking procedure felt eternal despite lasting only minutes. Marcus found himself checking weapons and communication gear with the automatic efficiency of someone who had faced too many diplomatic crises that turned violent. As they disembarked, Marcus caught sight of the ceremonial preparations happening across the base. Military personnel from both species worked in coordinated precision, setting up displays of cooperation that had taken months to organize. In less than 30 minutes, unless they succeeded, it would all become a memorial to the dead. There! Ziel'thanor pointed toward a pair of figures in Zephyrian military dress uniforms. Kyle and Vex. The twins stood at attention near the ceremonial podium, their four-armed forms identical, except for subtle variations in their carapace markings. They held ceremonial plasma rifles with military precision, but Marcus noticed their eyes tracking security positions and crowd densities with more than professional interest. They were conducting target assessment. Admiral Hassan approached with carefully neutral authority. Sergeant Kyle, Sergeant Vax, report to Conference Room 7 for pre-ceremony briefing. The twins exchanged a glance that lasted microseconds, but communicated volumes. They suspected something but couldn't refuse a direct order without revealing their intentions. Acknowledged, Admiral, they replied in perfect unison, their voices carrying the artificial calm of soldiers preparing for battle. As they walked toward the conference room, Marcus noticed Kyle's hand briefly touch something concealed beneath his ceremonial uniform. Explosive charges. The attack wasn't just planned, it was already armed and ready. Time had run out for subtle approaches. The next few minutes would determine whether diplomacy could overcome weaponized grief, or whether two species would learn to hate each other over the bodies of their best intentions. Queen Isabella entered the conference room with absolutely no sign of the tension Marcus knew she must be feeling. Her composure remained perfect as the Marthessan twins snapped to military attention, their twin gazes fixed on points above her head. According to Zephyrian protocol, at ease, sergeants. The Queen settled into a chair across from them, her body language open and unthreatening. I believe you knew Thekver of the Deep Current clan. The twins' perfectly synchronized military bearing wavered slightly at the unexpected mention of their dead friend. Kyle's mandibles clicked once, in what Marcus recognized as a Zephyrian expression of surprise. We served with Engineer Thekvor on 7 commercial runs, Vex replied carefully. He was an honored colleague and friend. He spoke of you both with great affection, Ziel'thanor said, stepping into their field of view. He said the Marthessan twins were the finest navigators in the merchant fleet, and that he trusted your judgment above anyone else's. Ziel'thanor? You're supposed to be... Kyle began. Dead, she finished. Killed attempting to assassinate Dr. Morrison during the wedding ceremony? Is that what Commander Braxton told you would happen? The twins exchanged another microcommunication glance. Marcus realized they had been expecting news of Ziel'thanor's suicide mission as confirmation that their own attack was justified. Commander Braxton provided us with evidence of systematic human medical discrimination against our people, Vex said, his voice carrying formal military precision that poorly concealed emotional pain, including the deliberate murder of our parents and your bondmate. Dr. Morrison activated his portable medical display showing the complete treatment records for both families. Sergeants, I need you to examine these files very carefully. Your parents died in a life support system failure that occurred in deep space, 6 hours from the nearest medical facility of any species. The official reports claim system failure, Kyle replied with bitter precision, but Commander Braxton showed us communications logs proving that human facilities refused to provide emergency assistance. Fabricated communications, Queen Isabella stated with absolute authority. Dr. Morrison, show them the technical analysis. Morrison highlighted specific data streams in the medical records. These communication logs show response times that violate the laws of physics. The signals purportedly traveled between your parents' ship and the nearest human facility in 4 hours, but the actual distance would require 11 hours for message transmission at light speed. The twins studied the data with the methodical precision of experienced navigators. Their military training included comprehensive understanding of communication physics, making the fabrication obvious once it was pointed out. Communication lag calculations don't lie, Vex admitted reluctantly. These logs are impossible, as are the medical readings in Thekver's fabricated death report, Ziel'thanor added, displaying her own analysis. Commander Braxton created convincing lies by mixing real tragedy with impossible technical details. Kyle's hand moved instinctively toward his hidden charges. then stopped as uncertainty replaced murderous certainty. If the reports were false, then our parents truly died in an accident? A genuine system failure that no medical intervention could have prevented, Dr. Morrison confirmed. The rescue ships that responded, both human and Zephyrian, arrived too late to help anyone. The twins' synchronized breathing became ragged as the foundation of their planned revenge crumbled beneath them. Marcus watched carefully calibrated hatred transform into confused grief as they processed the destruction of their worldview. "Why?" Vex whispered. "Why tell us these lies? To turn your honorable desire for justice into a weapon against everything your parents believed in," Queen Isabella replied. "Commander Braxton wanted to destroy the Alliance by using your love for them as ammunition." Kai looked down at his hands, as if seeing them for the first time. "We were going to detonate charges during the flag ceremony. Make it look like a human weapons malfunction killed Zephyrian personnel, triggering retaliatory action that would escalate into system-wide warfare," the Queen concluded. "Braxton's ultimate goal." Ziel'thanor moved closer to the twins, her 4 arms spread in a gesture of family comfort. "I came within seconds of murdering an innocent doctor because I believed the same lies. The only difference is that I learned the truth before completing the irreversible action." "There's another difference," Dr. Morrison said quietly. "You were acting alone against a single target. Their plan would have killed hundreds of military personnel from both species." The weight of potential mass murder settled over the twins like a crushing gravity field. Their military training had prepared them to kill in warfare, but not to commit genocide disguised as justice. "The charges," Vex said with dawning horror. "They're armed and linked to the ceremonial timing system. Even if we wanted to abort, we can't disarm them without specialized equipment." "What's the yield?" Captain Torres asked, his tactical mind already calculating blast radius and casualty estimates. "Enough to level the podium area and damage the surrounding ceremonial displays," Kyle replied numbly. "We calculated exactly what would be necessary to make human equipment failure appear responsible for Zephyrian deaths. Torres was already coordinating with base explosive ordnance disposal teams. Location and timing? Concealed charges beneath the flag ceremony platform timed to detonate during the joint anthem, when both species leadership would be within the kill radius," Marcus finished grimly. Queen Isabella's composed facade never cracked, but Marcus caught the flash of steel in her eyes. "Sergeants, I need you to assist EOD personnel in locating and disarming these charges immediately." "Yes, Your Majesty," they replied in unison, their military reflexes overriding emotional turmoil. As the twins led Torres toward the ceremonial area, Ziel'thanor remained behind with the Queen and Dr. Morrison. Her expression carried a mixture of relief and lingering worry. "We stopped this attack," she said, "but Braxton approached 12 families. How many others are already in motion, beyond our ability to reach them in time?" Queen Isabella's smile was sharp enough to cut diamond. "That, my dear Ziel'thanor, is why we're going to catch Commander Braxton himself. And when we do, he's going to help us contact every single family he poisoned with his lies." The hunt for the extremist was about to become personal.